Greetings, listeners, and welcome to the Whip 12 podcast. Tonight, we have a very special guest, the winner of this year's Infinity Global League Satellite 2025. Possibly the biggest Infinity event with a bit over 93 players this year. I think, after Interplanetario, almost certainly the biggest Infinity event, and one that draws people from all over the world. And this year, the winner was Brooke. Welcome, Brooke.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really appreciate you bringing me on.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you back on the podcast. For those of you who don't remember, Brooke was on last year talking about his version of Vanilla Combined, in which, the Sphinx featured prominently. So, I mean, you can't be accused of, not giving your opponents a head up into what you were going to play.
Exactly. I really gave everybody my list ahead of time. I told them what I was going to play. I even broke down exactly what my tactics were. I gave them everything they could possibly need.
And even so, you won. So a huge congratulations are in order. So congratulations.
No, it's actually the first satellite I've ever won. So it happened to be this one that has blown me away completely.
Yeah, no, I mean, you must be thrilled. This is such a big event, such great opponents. It was very interesting, right? Very, very interesting.
Yeah, and everyone was so nice. That's the thing. People will always have fear of maybe, should I join the IGL or not? Definitely do it. Even if you're having doubts, definitely give it a go, because everyone is so polite, so nice. And even sometimes I've said, I'm sorry about that. That was an accident. They're like, yeah, sure. Rewind time. Let's move forward. They're really, really pleasant. So definitely give it a go, especially if you're having doubts.
Yeah, that's a very interesting feature of the IGL there, right? You're getting people from all over the world, all sorts of different metas. How does that play out?
Well, it is difficult. The differences in people's approach to Infinity is one where you can actually learn a lot. So the way I've played against the Russians, and they're extremely difficult. They're very, very talented, and I find them to be a lot more aggressive in their tactics, and it's very difficult to defend against. Whilst there might be some more other metas in other parts of the country, they're extremely defensive. They're like, you come at me and then and try and sort out. Or even from, I wouldn't say the UK meta, but my style is very I'm not showing you anything. You run your guy into my DZ and, good luck, and hope you do as much damage as you can. And that trying to navigate those metas is difficult, But I think you can actually learn a lot from other people, because I'm not an amazing player. There are many players who are really, really better than me, and if I can keep learning from them, then I can get better myself. That's the dream, really.
Yeah, I mean, there is a large concentration of extremely talented Infinity players that play in the IGL. So, I think that's a great way to level up, right? Play some games, have great opponents. That's the quickest way to learn for sure. Particularly when, like you mentioned, everybody's so helpful. So I'm sure, they can give you some tips into exactly why your defense sucks.
Yeah, exactly. And the biggest one is just roll better. I think I found that out in my third or fourth game. It all came down to either a single dice roll or a lucky miss. So you just have to you have to have a little bit of luck, but calculated luck and calculated risk. That is the big difference. Taking that risk, you feel confident that it will end in a result so beneficial towards your end that it's worth taking the risk.
Right. So last time you were on the podcast, we went over your player origin story and stuff. So I think we can maybe skip that part. Any
Sure.
of the listeners who are interested, I'll point them over to our last episode, in which we talked a bunch of how you ended up playing Infinity. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. These are 6 rounds of high stakes Infinity. And, how about we start with your lists?
Yeah, so my Sphinx list, if for the people that have listened before, hasn't really deviated too much. The only major difference here is changing out the Raziat for Agent Dukash. And that is literally the only change.
Okay, but let me go over the list anyways for
that's
people
okay.
who are listening the first time, right? Okay, so this is your Sphinx list. In the first group, you have a Sphinx. This is, you know him, you love him. Very expensive, 93 points, but, has a Spitfire, camouflage, hidden deployment, burst 2, heavy flamethrower, the works. 2 Echidrons, you really can't get anything. I mean, with the addition of baggage, this N5, they really just became.
They're incredible. Absolutely,
they're just incredible,
but
right?
If they got nerfed, I actually would be okay. I genuinely, everyone's like, oh, nerf this. Echidrons should be the first on the chopping block.
Yeah, man.
All CA players are going to hate me for saying that, but it's true.
Best 9 points in the game for sure. Okay. You've got an R-Drone, a Flash Pull Spot, a Datarazzi, a Liberto Mine Layer. Oh, you kept the Liberto Mine Layer even after losing the template. That's an interesting one. We'll go over that later. 1 Imitron, the Dartok Hacker, a Grey Fop. This is the impersonator, only level 2 impersonation, but this is the impersonator with the visor, breaker pistol, and a combi rifle. And Agent Dukash. This is the extremely scary, total immune deployment zone parachutist, right?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the reasons I brought him was viral. I expected a ton of Norkiuses, and viral just annihilates Norkius.
Oh,
especially
interesting.
if you can shoot Norkius in the back. And one of the other reasons is actually to tie up tags. We can go and talk into tactics once we finish the list, but sometimes I'll just walk into base to base with the tag and punch him, but knowing I'm not going to kill him, and now the tag can't ARO, and I can run up and do other stuff.
Right. Okay, so in group 2, there's an R-Drone, Mentor Lieutenant. This is the camo guy in your deployment zone. A base operator's engineer. That's that's a cheap engineer who has super jump. A void operator, hacker, killer hacking device, and a Preta, a small warband, and a slave drone for the engineer. So let's go over the choices here in the list, right? You were talking about Agent Dukash, how you walked him into base-to-base combat with a tag. Like, is this better than just bringing in your Raziat and actually being able to kill the tag?
No. In conclusion, I was testing out Agent Dukash, and I didn't actually find him as useful as, say, the Raziat is. He's still very, very good. Don't get me wrong, he's excellent. But he has a very different role to what the Raziat does. And the Raziat can't walk up and decharge anymore because they've changed that -6 modifier to the Raziat. So now he's burst 1 on 17s. So it's not great. But Dukash's role now is to punish poor deployment if you have deployed poorly, to walk on, not necessarily in the DZ, but in a area where a specialist operative is needed, or to snipe those immune arms, like if I faced Ariadne or any other immune arm. Like, Agent Dukash is really good at killing Agent Dukash, funny enough.
Right. Right, yeah, that viral pistol, even though it's burst 2, right? But that DA shock is so scary against someone like Norkius, right? Who only has BTS 3. If you catch him from behind and blast him, yeah, he's gonna hurt.
And don't underestimate pistols. 2 shots at 16 is still 0, right? So it's fine. 2 shots on a 13. That's all I need, really.
Right. Yeah, particularly if you're catching him from behind without cover.
Exactly. But the drawback of Agent Dukash is he doesn't complete anywhere near as many classifies as the Raziat and doesn't take Eclipse. So the Raziat, I don't have to walk into CC. I can even throw an Eclipse on top of the tag, and then that does the same job without risking my Raziat, rather than Dukash being risked. And sometimes it goes horribly wrong, like it did in one of my games where I based the Noctifer for the same reason. Because of order efficiency rather than shooting a Noctifer, it was not efficient for me to do so, and I died to the Noctifer critting me in CC, which is not good.
Ouch.
Yeah, yes, because it's like PS 10, and he crits on a 12 or something. So yeah, but it happens. It can happen. You can get diced out. So sometimes I'll base somebody just to stop them from shooting my tag or any other important pieces to complete the mission.
Right, right. So I'm curious, right? Because if you look at this list, there's basically no AP in the list, right? I mean, Agent Dukash has a multi-rifle, but that's like hardly, high watermark, AP shooting right there. So there's no AP. There's very little in your deployment zone because Agent Dukash is parachuting and the Sphinx is hidden deployed. So, I mean, that's great, right? It's very hard to attack into your deployment zone. You've got like various chaff units. The Greif under the impersonation marker. I mean, the only valuable thing to try to kill, I'm guessing, is either the Dartok or your base operator. But yeah, in both of those cases, they're very cheap units, right? They're both like 18, 17 points. So it's not.
Well, I'm going to tell everybody how to beat my list, and that sounds like a terrible idea. I don't have very many good units to take out. What you probably should be doing, and if I've deployed poorly, is trying to isolate my robots, and that will just bring my order pool down drastically, and I won't be able to do as much stuff. But typically on a 12-inch deployment, I can space them out or deploy in such a way where it's going to be not very cost effective for you to go and do that. And like the Icadrons are BTS 6. I'm resetting on a 13. You're doing 2 13s. It may take you 1, 2, maybe even 3 orders, and I may even make the save. So it's not super hyper efficient, but it is a way to disrupt this list. Other than that, do you really want to waste your turn spotlighting a base operator and then blowing up with a guided missile? Probably not. And even if I lose it, I'm not too bothered because he's in my other group. So.
Right. So what's your game plan with this list? I mean, I'm well aware that, we went over it in our in our previous conversation, but I think, in case some of our listeners don't go back and listen to that and, what were the changes of the list? What's your game plan? How do you use it?
So the main game plan is actually, funny enough, the Sphinx existing is just generally a threat, but it's not my main attack piece for, say, things like tags and things like that. The idea behind this, the basic principle behind this list is, 1, check their deployment, or deploy the Grief in such a way that skews their deployment. So remember, Dukash is off the board. If I deploy their Grief, say, close to where I believe their lieutenant is, they may skew some of their units towards that side of the board, relieving Dukash to enter the board on the other side. I think it only worked twice, but twice is enough for me. The other idea of this list is that the Dartok is generally a very good hacker, can't really be isolated. I'll find their hackers if they're a reasonable hacker and try and take those guys out, or I'll isolate tags, or I'll try and total control them if I feel that it's necessary. And sometimes I won't even reveal the Sphinx. So turn 1, as an example, I could move Dartok up, move, fire up my pitcher, try and isolate their tag, move back, and the Sphinx is still off the board. It doesn't mean that I have to go and use it. Now they still don't know where the Sphinx is. They've got to go on the aggression on their side, try and kill some of my units, which are all hiding, remember. And then they leave, I don't know, as an example, they leave Cheskin in the middle. Now, that's great. The Sphinx can go after it. Or they've pushed 1 too many units up, and then you go on the pounce after that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember when in our last conversation you mentioned that that's the reason why you don't like taking the Sphinx lieutenant. And you pay like the extra whole 1 SWC for the mentor. It's because you do not want to be forced to reveal the Sphinx early, right? And I think that's so wild, right? That you have a third of your army off the board and you're still not revealing it, but it's a very powerful threat, right? It's like your opponent is like, where the hell are the points, right?
Exactly, and I mean, it works a bit better if you don't have any walk-on deployments, because then they can maybe guess, oh, okay, he's got a Razia and an Octava, which works out as like 60 odd points, and then 30 is somewhere else. It can get mixed up unless somebody's literally writing it out. But with Sphinx and Ducash missing, that's people kind of can conclude that there is a Sphinx. But one of the things you've got to remember is a lot of missions favor second turn, and I've played multiple tournaments where, like even Supremacy as an example, or Frostbite, where I don't reveal the Sphinx until the very end, and then I move him into the middle, and there is nothing you can do about it because of the new changes to tactical awareness. The Sphinx moves out of hidden deployment and then can use his tactical awareness, and I'm in the middle in camo. What can you do? There's very little you can.
That's very, very powerful. Yeah, you can put 90 points wherever you want. That is impossible to stop, right? And you know, the AROs are also, it's impossible to kill a Sphinx in your reactive turn, right? I mean, what kind of AROs would you need to actually stop them? I'm curious, like, what do you do with like Sheshkin or Nurkius running into? I mean, I think Nurkius is probably easier to stop because of all your repeaters and your hackers and stuff. But like somebody like Sheshkin who's unhackable, like just deciding to Rambo into your deployment and trying to kill as many stuff as possible.
Yeah, so that's fine. So the typical way of doing that, and the Sheshkin is a slight exception to the rule. She's very strong, but I typically would put blockers in the way, and by blockers I mean R-drones and Nicodrons, and she just runs into them. She has to dodge the flame because flame is continuous and she's not immunity arm. But the best way to do it is to layer AROs. Now, people can always skim the pie where if they see someone like literally on top of another person, there is mathematically an angle that you can take where you can eliminate that. But if you have it from, say, across the board, where one is covering the other one from that particular angle, and it forces Sheshkin to take on two flash pulses, one at pad range and one at good range, then it really makes Sheshkin, you know, have to make those crucial decisions. Plus, you've got to remember, they've had one order stripped for them if they've got the mentor themselves, or two orders stripped for them if they haven't. Sheshkin is 6'4", which is very, very fast, but it still takes her 4 to 5 orders to get across the board, assuming I have 0 AROs.
Right.
So she's spent 7 orders, and now she has 3. Do you want, you as the opposing player, to leave a 54-point, extremely powerful model in my DZ with all of my stuff around?
Yeah.
Especially with a Sphinx, right? And a Sphinx can pretty much take Sheshkin out in shooting, if I'm in cover, actually, and force her to dodge if I'm within 10 inches. 10 inches is the optimum range for all Sphinx plays. You always want to be around 10 inches. And the other reason why I take the Liberto mine layer, which is something you raised earlier, is that sometimes I'll lay a mine first and then engage with the Sphinx. The reason why, even with the template gone, it's still a very good unit is because it can just do that. It's 8 inches up the board. Let's say a really tough unit for the Sphinx to take on is Miranda, because she's a MIM 6 emitter marksmanship.
Right.
An incredible unit. And it bricks a Sphinx. But if I lay a mine down, she's only 1 wound. Yeah, maybe she'll risk the emitter shot, but she's still shooting, is it burst to 12, 15 minus 6. So 2 on 9s versus my 11s, 4 11s. Does she want to risk being hit by that mine? Probably not. Nor do TR bots, nor do a lot of AROs unless they're multi-wound AROs. Like a Syriac, for example, would be a bad one because that would take the mine and be happy to move on with its life. But a lot of these sort of, 1 wound AROs, which are extremely powerful, usually got some amazing gear because you're compromising gear for points, don't want to take that mine hit. That's why I take it. And also, as you'll probably find out when I talk about one of my games, it nearly beat the Asura single-handedly himself. So, he's an amazing unit still.
Amazing, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember you telling me that if you want to get good at playing Combined Army, you have to get good at playing with the cheap units, with the chaff. And I mean, I think there's no clearer demonstration on this. You're going to be playing with the chaff a lot. You're going to have to learn how to defend with this chaff. You're going to have to,
exactly.
Yeah, you're going to have to do a lot of work here because, I mean, there are things you could use that would make your life easier in defense, right? I mean, you could find a TR bot somewhere, right?
Yeah.
That's a very common addition for vanilla combined lists. But I mean, you've optimized this list so far that you're really banking on knowing how to defend with the tools you have, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is a big argument with AROs, right? The TR bot, excellent, excellent. But if you think about, and I mean, anybody that's listening, if you think about the lists that you've created and you're, say, facing the Thunderbolt TR bot, you know in your mind what in your list can take that out. You definitely know it. There's something in your list that is designed to take out that TR bot. Same with my list. Like the Sphinx can take on that TR bot no problem and even force it to dodge because it can't actually hit the Sphinx at all, right? That you have a unit that counters it. I'm not saying that they're bad because dice are dice, right? But what I am saying is that the TR bot is not something you just plonk and look down the whole board. What you should be doing is putting a TR bot at the side, looking at maybe 16 to 20 inches, forcing their Sheskin forward, and then using that as an ARO. Same with the overdrawn. Like I made a big mistake in the finals. And I suffered for it, where I had it looking over the whole board, when in theory I should have actually had it looking across the line. But biotech law, we'll talk more about that later. But
Right.
it can fit in these lists, and this list has been compromised heavily because of my testing of Agent Dukash, because he's 40 points and was 0.5 SWC, now 1, and he's not worth that, in my personal opinion. Other people will disagree. He's still an amazing unit, but he's an amazing unit against people that have deployed badly. If you play some of the best players in the world, they will not be scared of an Agent Dukash. They will be able to counter it very easily because his weakness is, any EM weapon you've got, any mines you've got, any BTS weapons you've got, just take him out pretty quickly.
Interesting. Right. Okay. Is there anything else you want to mention about this list?
Yeah, the Void Operator. It's an unusual pick. So that Void Operator, if you have a look at my list, Agent Dukash was 0.5 SWC before. That Void Operator fits perfectly with a TR bot. And there was a reason why I chose to take the Void Operator instead of a TR bot. And that's because the missions, Unmasking, Frostbite, Mind Wipe, all heavily favor hackers. Firefight less so, but countermeasures definitely does. And with the Void Operator being a medium infantry hacker, and I think he's a veteran or elite, he can complete so many classifieds. And with the old super jump rules, he could move 12. And he utilizes my mentor's NCO order. So he was also a test compared to my previous list, but I've been very, very, very pleased with him because he utilized that lieutenant order that I didn't utilize in my previous list. And he very much has cyber mines, which now are better, just better. And with the recent changes to nanoscreen, are even better than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, the cyber mines are just insane, right? If you're hackable, they're brutal, and if you're not hackable, then they're still amazing because they stop your attack run either way, right? It's a stun on 2 dice, so it's kind of like an old flash pulse, but in a template form. It's real good. Oh, and also resetting against a cyber mine makes it absolutely disgusting if you manage to layer the arrows, right? Because then you have to choose
exactly
whether you shoot back or you have to reset. I mean, it's just terrible.
Exactly. And the other thing is that because he's so maneuverable, and the size of the consoles, a lot of the tactics is put him into marker, jump. They'll probably discover or attempt to. Then, you jump, go prone, and you're behind the console after 2 orders. And you can roll on the console pretty comfortably because there's a lot of exclusion zones. So, and then if you've got enough orders, go back into cyber state and then go to the next console. And, that's just your group 2. You haven't even touched any of your group 1 yet. That's what makes him so useful. But his weakness is the same weakness that Norkis has. He doesn't do well on ARO at all. at all. He really suffers. He's BTS 0. He's whip 13. Any killer hacker worth their salt will just put him down straight away. And straight to dead, mind you, as well.
Right. Yeah, he has no unconscious state. But, you're not going to pick him up anyways. So he is very cheap, right? 20 points for all that capability seems very, very, very good. The huge mobility, the NCO order, the cyber mask gives you a marker state. It's really a beautiful package, right?
And don't forget his 360 and X visor. I did this in 2 of my games where I jumped, and then jumped, and they chose to discover, and I chose to shoot. I know it's an SMG, but this person only had 1 wound, and I've got an X visor, so I ignore that first -3. I was, 3 shots on a 9. I'll take that. And because you can now, I jumped and then moved and then finished prone. Apologies, let me rephrase that. Because of the new rules again on finishing prone at the end of your move. And then, that's 3 9s for free. Thank you very much. I'll give that a go. And it was 24 inches away. I mean, they're not expecting it always. So if you don't know the profiles, it's really, really useful.
Yeah, and they're not expecting. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is once you do have him prone and maybe he's not in marker state, he's still got 360 to defend your back line, and so it stops all those weird angles like, oh, my facing's slightly off. You don't have to worry with him.
Interesting choice. Yeah, that is definitely something that stands out. And then the base operator engineer, I'm guessing, is just so cheap, right? It's 17 points, allows you to bring him in instead of Dr. Worm or whatever, and he's still super mobile.
Yeah, he was faster before, going to what, I had him, there was a perfect example in one of my practice games. He moved from one side of the board to repair my Sphinx on the other side of the board in 3 orders, which is insane if you really think about it. Dr. Worm wouldn't get there in 5, 6, 7 orders. It was mad. So yeah, an incredible unit. And yeah, he's 1 whip worse, but he's still pretty good. And, heavy shotgun is a good defensive tool because you're not going to be running up doing gunfights, but you want to be +6 when somebody comes and says hello. So, that's the ideal situation. I think actually that's why I have a lot of shotguns still, even though the template's gone. Because that +6, a lot of these are hiding around corners, and enabling that +6 range is just very useful at disrupting because I'm not going to be using them as attack pieces. However, someone has convinced me very recently to consider the mentor being upgraded because it's only 2 points and it's a marksman rifle. So that's fair, but trying to squeeze 2 points in this list is tough.
Yeah, this list is very optimized, let's say. Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing the marksman rifle is for what? For turn 3? Because I don't expect you to be revealing your mentor very, very often.
No. The mentor is by far the best lieutenant I've used. And if you listen to the last one, use the decoy to block path. If you do that, it saves the mentor another turn or another order. And if they fail to discover your decoy, they're stuck. They can't move through it. So it's a really useful sort of blocking tool. In one of my practice games, somebody failed to discover the mentor's decoy. They called down the super jump speed ball, which is very rare to do, in order to get on top of the building to kill my real mentor. And lo and behold, they failed that second discover. So, it's unfortunate, but he's very defensive, and it stops those GML launching and who's that EM grenade launcher, from damaging me.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, that Durazzi is just a fantastic warband. So
one of the best in the game for sure, and I don't disagree with that. I don't think it is the best, but it is definitely in the top 3. And the reason he's so good is he's just, they gave him martial arts level 4. What were they thinking? What were they doing? If they gave him martial arts level 3, I would that's really strong. 4 with double action. It kills most tags, let alone most average units.
Savage. He's just so brutal. He's so brutally good. So now I'm curious, which is your favorite warband?
Oh, Well, they're my favorite for the wrong reasons. I like warbands that have multiple uses.
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
Yeah, it's for me, it's Yojimbo, but that's only because I love Yojimbo so much because it's kind of like a multi-toolbox in one. It's got a smoke grenade launcher, it's got smoke grenades, its CC is devastating, it's got movement. It for me, it really encompasses everything I want from a warband. It is like and it's immune to crit, I believe, as from memory. It's just insane. So it can take a hit and still keep moving. And I just love it beyond compare. Now, I understand these 20 points, but I would pay 6 points more than my Delarazzi for that. Absolutely. Any day of the week. Yeah, not going prone sucks, but still, it's an incredible unit. And if your table's dense, then you're going to love it. You're going to love it every day of the week. But warband. This is the thing with the problem with tier lists in general. Things in isolation are amazing, but it's what surrounds them that makes them amazing. Combined armies Delarazzi are incredible because they have the support cast that make them even more incredible. So having access to smoke, but also having access to some of the best MSV units in the game, like the Yaugat Sniper, the Charontid MSV3, even arguably Tusa is an amazing one. Even the Neurocynetics version, one shot, you'll take that shot on a 14 any day of the week through smoke. So, it's what surrounds them that makes them really, really powerful.
I like it. I like it a lot. Let's go to your second list, right? Your second list is a Charontid list. So you start out with a Charontid Lieutenant plus 1 order, Hacking Device plus with the upgrade extra damage, Plasma Rifle, Scepter plus Pulsar. Then you have Nurkius Hacker. Now this is the old version of Nurkius. We're playing with Nurkius Killer Hacker and Super Jump, old Super Jump rules. Then another Liberto Mine Layer, a Base Operators Engineer, 2 Echidrons, 2 Flash Pulse Bots, 1 Overdrawn with a Plasma Sniper Rifle. Now that's an interesting one. A Daturazzi, and that's all in Group 1. And then in Group 2, we have Bit and Kiss, another Daturazzi, an Imitron, one of the 6-point antennas, and 2 Gakis. So talk to me about this.
You
list.
didn't ask me what my second favorite unit was, and that is the Gaki. I think they are incredible. Really do. Unless they've got shock ammunition, then it sucks. But most of the time, they are just amazing disposable pieces. I think they're just excellent because they still have a 12-inch Berserk. And that came into my final game in which I used this list. And as an example, I did a 12-inch Berserk. I won the CC fight versus a Predator, and I got hit by a Plasma Sniper. I took 1 wound and exploded, taking the Predator out of dogged state. And made the save on the other Plasma hit. And 4 points, I cleared the room out. Amazing. Also, I used Gakis for clearing mines, so I was expecting HB. I didn't actually face HB Assassin's Baram. I didn't face them the whole way through, but the idea with the Gakis was to clear those EM mines. Because 1, do they want to reveal the hidden deployment to kill a Gaki? Probably not, right?
Right.
And if they don't, the Gaki gets to set the mines off anyway. And that's the idea with him, because they're not going to reveal for the sake of it. And as I clear the mines away, then my other attack pieces like Norkius can go in and actually do some damage. And then Bit and Kiss is just repeat a network and shooting pitches across the board, 2 11s rather than 1 11. That's the idea. And then I can utilize the hacker. But you'll probably notice no guided missile in this.
That's right. I noticed no guided missile in either of the lists, right? Even though you do have a hacking presence and you do have, good pictures and stuff, no guided.
No. So the reason I didn't, people think foolishly, the reason I didn't really take guided was because of the mission list. Now, that sounds a bit strange because guided is useful in most circumstances, but when it came to things like Panic Room, it was more... I ended up fighting Combined Army, but I didn't know that when I built these lists. Taking 2 Delarazzi's felt more beneficial to me than taking a guided, because them berserking into the room could be devastating for most units. and that was more favorable for me. Plus, I think sometimes guided is very useful, but the majority of the time it isn't. However, I'm not against anybody that uses it. Because, for example, we spoke earlier about Sheskin running into your DZ, right? How do you stop that from happening? Well, if you have a guided missile bot and you spotlight Sheskin has to consider resetting. So just the fact that it exists, even if you're not doing a guided trick, is important for some people. But I just felt not to use it in this, even though I had the SWC and the points. Just from a feeling point of view and from the missions, I didn't think I wanted to do it. Now, if I was playing something where supplies or something where they have to hold on to a box or they have to like what's it called, B-pong, where they're pushing things across the board, then I probably would have taken a guided, just because it's so easy for me to go and fire a picture and blow up the person carrying the box to guarantee the win. But in this instance, the mission setup was in such a way that I didn't think I needed it, even though I could have taken it.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. So talk to me about the Overdrawn. Like, why the Plasma Sniper?
Well, Overdrawn is to link with Norkius and Tinbot protect him from any sort of aggressive hacking. And that sort of duo is extremely powerful. Plus the duo with the combination of the NCO order, because I've got 2 lieutenant orders in this list, and the tactical awareness meant the Overdrawn could push Norkius into the middle of the table before I've spent a single order. And the Overdrawn can protect Norkius by just literally firing bullets at anything that's coming around. The other reason for the Plasma Sniper rather than the HMRC is the prevalence of things like Norkius, because Plasma will do well against it, but the HRMC will not do as well against it. But it was also to try and outrange things with positive range bands. My idea with the Overdrawn was more of a defensive and to take out AROs at long range. So we talked about the TR bot earlier. I'd like to take the TR bot on 313s and he's on -6, he's on 5s. So I would prefer that fight rather than pushing my own guy, my HORC, which is 5 on 13s, but he's back on 11s. It just, for me, and you can tell from my Sphinx list, like putting people at worse numbers than me. That's my whole meta. That's everything I do. Make sure his numbers are smaller than mine, and I'm a happy man. That's generally how I like to play things.
Okay. So how does this list play?
Well, I only played it once, and that was in the finals. It struggles a little bit, but I do think there is a place for the Charontid hacker over the MSV, just because the fact that it has a hacking device gives it that protection. And funny enough, the Sepsidor also gives it that protection. So let's say Norkius does run up and try to CC my Charontid. I Sepsidor the Norkius as he runs into CC whilst other AROs are happening. He has to dodge. Otherwise, he could become mine, right? And then I've got to spare Norkius, and that's just a brutal consideration. And because he's got ECM, people hacking him are going to have a rough time. Now, the fact he doesn't have Trinity does suck, but people are still going to have a rough time. What he's doing back is inevitably worse, in theory, than what Trinity would have done to you. So, in a weird way, you can see him, and then visualize this, and bear with me, people, as a Whip 13 hacker, right, who is isolating you, right? So the reason I say it that way around, I don't get the +3 from Trinity. So if they're a Whip 13, they're hitting me on 13s, and I'm also hitting you back on a 13. And when I hit you back, I isolate you on PS3, like damage 3. That's ridiculous. That's very difficult for any hacker to survive. And then you cannot spend any more hacking attempts on him. So, it's a really, really powerful tool. And if you're bold enough, I didn't do it, but you could probably get an Evo hacker to give him a firewall as well, and then now he's -6 against most hacking attempts, and it's not really worth the while. But my thinking pattern was Sepsitor, intuitive attack. ridiculous, I know, but he's whip 16 and there's camo everywhere. And I thought, let's get these camo out of marker state. If I intuitive attack what I believe has cube, then, it will force people to dodge out of the way. And sometimes they're dodging quite poorly. And you've got a new unit that you can just run at them or lay mines, do whatever you want to do to just disrupt their parts. And he's armed with a plasma and a pulsar +1 burst. So, like if he's round the corner from you and you are within 10 inches, you really have to consider what you want to do. Really do. Like if you are shooting back and I don't want to own you or you don't have a cube, I'll pulsar you twice. If you dodge, I'll shoot you with the plasma, and that's still going to hurt. And I'm BS 14. It's really crazy. And if you're hackable, I'll just hack you. Right. So he just covers a lot of those bases. That's the idea behind him. And Norkius, the same idea, was just to run up and eat people. Again, this was specifically designed for things like Panic Room and for countermeasures. But I actually ended up facing MO, so I didn't take this one because of how MO play.
I see. Okay. I mean, Bid and Kiss throwing pictures and then the Charontid hacking is terrifying, right? And if you need to kill something, then Norkius is an excellent killer hacker too, because he has whip 15, so extremely high whip hackers with very dangerous programs.
And with the Mononica changes, the 2 lieutenant orders get carried over. So even if the Charontid dies, then Norkius is a whip 16 with 2 lieutenant orders. And if he dies, the base operator is a whip 16 with 2 lieutenant orders and engineer, which is amazing. And then if he dies, the overdrawn is whip 16. Who cares? It just keeps going. I think the only thing you can't give it to are impetuous units, but I'm not 100% confident on that. Or irregular units you can't give it to. So I can't give it to a Gaki as an example.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the games? Yeah,
that would be great, actually. So I had an amazing time. And I will say all of the people that I played were excellent. Really, really, really excellent. And it made it even more enjoyable because having to navigate, like I mentioned earlier, all of these different styles, the different metas and how they played defensively made it like a Rubik's Cube that you're trying to unwind and untrack. And people started taking units I wasn't even expecting. Let's take my first one. I think I was playing Baratonio.
That's right.
And
yes.
He was playing Torchlight. And this was unmasking. Now, we had the lieutenant roll off, and I ended up going second and had the Sphinx in hidden deployment. And he took that really crucial Torchlight Harris with Hippolyta taking up the lead. And basically, they ran up to go button push and essentially identify what the HVTs are. They did struggle a little bit. They did manage to push the button on their second attempt. Well, that's unfortunate. It's just how the dice went. And then they tried to discover a mine, but they failed to discover on that. So I really feel for Baratonio because, man, that was unlucky. And then he had to retreat because he didn't want to have, obviously, Hippolyta in the middle. Then he rearranged some of his units in group 2. And so he managed to identify, I think he identified the real one. I think he identified the real HVT, so I was already pretty nervous about that. But that was the end of his turn. Then it came to my turn, and this is where Agent Ducash came on. So Agent Ducash comes on, and then I moved the Liberto up to the other side. Now, we spoke about why I kept the mine layer. The Harris is positioned defensively, covering all corners. I moved the Liberto 0.1 inch away from the edge of the door, put a mine in the door, and then I moved Agent Ducash from the other side to go and shoot them. So now they're kind of, all three of them are forced to dodge whilst they're having Agent Ducash shoot at them. I managed to take out one of the units, but Hippolyta wasn't going down easy. And it actually took my very, very last order with the Liberto at +6 range, 2 on 11s, with a mine laid down to take out Hippolyta in the end. And that was my entire first turn. I didn't even press a button, and I'm fine with that.
Right. So you managed to take out like their really power Harris there, and yeah, that was obviously a great investment. But again, you didn't, you resisted the temptation to to reveal the Sphinx, right?
Yeah, no need. I didn't need to. Like, that's the thing. The Sphinx is very, very powerful. And like we spoke about earlier, it's learning to use your other units effectively. And if I don't need to risk something, why would I need to? Right? The Sphinx can do a lot of damage. And if he doesn't know where it is, and we'll see why this was a good decision in a second, I don't know what else he has. I'm very suspicious. There's a lot of points missing. A lot. And I'm like, he's got something. But I didn't calculate what it was. I had no idea what it was. Turned out he had about 49 points missing. I was like, my word, what? I've got stuff missing. He's got stuff missing. Something's going on. His turn comes around and Jamie walks on. Now, I don't see Jamie parachutist very often, but my goodness, it is a scary profile when you actually look at it. So Jamie comes up and takes out my flash pulse bot, obviously, naturally. Oh, and takes out my void operator, which is quite irritating. Then he goes on to try and take out my real HVT. He goes around the corner. I reveal the Sphinx at this point to shoot him at roughly about 24 inches away, because James got plasma, so you want to make sure that reveal is definitely outside of 16. He dodges because he's an amazing dodger, and he then is no longer threatened by the Sphinx, and he shoots the HVT in good range, no cover, I believe, and the HVT crits. And it is really unlikely. Just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And he's running out of orders, so he has to retreat. He retreats back. Wait for it. He retreats back, shoots, and wins with one roll. I make both saves and go prone. Okay, that's just unfortunate. He then runs Jamie back and hides him. And Jamie should have done so much more. And it's just really, really bad dice. And then after that, it became the Sphinx's turn to shine, because now I revealed myself. And one of the reasons I revealed myself is because I didn't realize the new changes to the tactical awareness rule. A lot of the time, sometimes I reveal the Sphinx early so I get the tactical awareness. I don't need to worry about that anymore. But that's what I used to do tactically, and it's just like ingrained in me, if you will.
How does that work? Because I'm not familiar with that change. I know that you since the Sphinx was off the board, they don't generate the tactical awareness, right? That was how it used to be.
Exactly. And now the order is generated, but it's not on the board. Sounds ridiculous, right?
Oh.
So you can't use it to reveal. You can't use the tactical awareness to pop forward. Technically speaking, you have to use a regular to pop forward. So if it's like the last order in that group, you can't use the tactical awareness then, because the Sphinx is not on the board. You have to use an order first, then you can use the tactical awareness order. So it's a real big boost. People say that the Climbing Plus rules nerfed it, but that is a huge boost for a Sphinx player for sure.
Right. And well, the Climbing Plus rules have just changed back, right?
I know. It's really, really good. I think the tactical awareness is more revolutionary than the Climbing Plus rule changes, because I don't think I did use Climbing Plus twice in this whole game. If you've seen the maps, there was barely anything to climb in Unmasking. So it was my second turn. Now it's the Sphinx time to shine. So Sphinx runs forward, pops out his little robot, presses the button, took 2 orders to do that. And then shot a repeater that he cleverly laid down as a trap. Got rid of the repeater, killed like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units with the Sphinx, including split bursting. The biggest risk was taking on his GML missile bot. It was my favor, but I had to take it on as a cover because of his excellent deployment. So that was really risky, because he could just crit me and I'm not in cover. So it would hurt no matter what. But I did win that face to face. Then I ran round and shot Jamie and the HVT. And at this point, he had his lieutenant left, a couple of orders left, right? I still would get an additional turn after this, but he didn't have that many left, and I just went through and tidied up everything, revealed the next HVTs and killed everything. But he did end up killing my one, which is why it was only an 8-3. So I didn't get the 2 points for keeping my one safe. But yeah, an amazing game overall. it was really, really, really good. And it was all the Sphinx turn 2. And that's, again, what I want to say is, like, you don't have to do it turn 1. Be patient. Be patient.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Also, it's like the impact, right, that the Sphinx can make in the latter turns is just terrible because there's not so much to stop him, right?
Yeah, not unless you've got a sensor unit and you get really, really lucky. Has happened to me a couple of times in the past. But even after you've revealed it, you've got a 3 wound, 6 armor, Mim 6 tag. Unless you've got specific things to kill it or CC monsters with a ton of orders left, it's going to be tough. Because typically sensor units aren't units designed to kill tags. Typically.
Right.
Some of them can, but not all of them.
It is interesting. It is interesting. Kind of like how the TR bots and other ARO pieces are like more powerful towards, the latter turns, turn 2, turn 3, they gain in power once some of your peak units have died. Like the same thing happens to the Sphinx, right? You're just less able to stop him.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I couldn't have described it better. That is exactly the point. You can still use it as a turn 1 attack piece, absolutely, because it's still a BS-14 gunfighter. But once people have overextended, or once people have lost enough units, you then pull the hammer out and slam it down on the anvil and take out 4 or 5 of their units, and then they've got 3 left. That's the idea behind it, right? And the fact that the Sphinx has +1 burst flamers, if it didn't have that, it would be a bad unit, and I would agree with everybody on the internet that it's a bad unit. But those +1 flamers can scare even tags. You don't want to be hit by those because it can take you straight to dead, especially armor 6 tags. It would just really, really hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you mentioning how you got to get really good at eyeballing 10 inches
because absolutely.
That's outside 8 inches, outside the 8 inches. So you're outside of repeater range, right? You're outside of those close range stuff, but you can still lay down the templates and have the +3 on the Spitfire, right? Give that fork, and that +1 burst It just makes all the difference, right?
Oh, every single bit of difference, right? And don't forget, your Sphinx can intuitive attack as well. Whip 13 is still not a bad whip. It's not like a whip 10 or a whip 11 tag. It still can effectively take out most camo. So, like, which game was it? Well, in one of my games, I do remember going up the middle, trying to discover a camo token, and it failed. And then I just stood there and had a rough idea what it was based on the points that they had. And then I chose to intuitive attack, forcing them to dodge. And they did succeed on the dodging, but now they're revealed. Thank you very much. Now I'm 4 on 14s because you're out of cover. It's just a brutal way of forcing people out. I think people with flame attacks should do that more often because he's not the only one with a flamethrower. So, right. People should really consider doing these kind of tactics just to force people out of camo. Unless it's a hacker, then don't do it. But that comes with time and experience to know which ones are hackers, which ones are not.
Well, I mean, you can still do it from outside of 8 inches if you're good enough to judge that right? That from 8 to 10 inch range. Yeah,
if you're, I mean, even I have a tough time eyeballing that with a camo marker. It sounds weird, but from a left to right angle, I find it harder than a front to back angle because I'm so used to eyeballing it going towards them than I am going across the board. Sounds so stupid when I say it in my head, but it's so true. I just find it easier to eyeball I think I know why. So just a useful tip for everybody. Have a rough idea. You know where their DZ is. That is always open knowledge, right? But if they have forward deploying units, you have a rough idea where their 8-inch forward deployment is. Because, for example, Liberto, people tend to deploy them as far as they can, like I do as well. So there's 8 inches between that point that Liberto's at and roughly where their DZ is at. And then utilizing that information, you can judge roughly where 10 inches. So if I sit just in front of that Liberto, I know that my flame will hit the edge of their DZ. If that makes any sense. So it's a really utilizing the pieces on the field to assess whereabouts 10 is how you can get better at it. And then once you know that's 10, you can then go across the board and then eyeball what unique landmarks make that 10. And then the same goes for shooting. If you know, let's say I shoot a unit and that unit is 12.8 inches away when I shot it, I know I'm 2 inches away from that 10. So I will then move my unit 2.1 towards it, and then I'll move it back 3.8 or 3.9, sorry. And then I know I'm guaranteed to be in that 10 because I shot it the first time round. And obviously you get to know distance when you shoot.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a very good point. I hadn't realized, but yeah, lots of times against important stuff, right? The stuff you might want to use the heavy flamethrowers on, you are going to shoot them, while you close the distance, and that's just going to give you like all the information. It's going to make it much easier to eyeball that perfect range.
Yeah, and what you want to do is make people second guess. We want them to go, should I dodge? Should I shoot? If I shoot, I've got a really good gun. Like I'm happy to talk about it in a little bit, but Black Air is an extremely powerful unit. Neurosynetics MSV2, but a Black Air 10 inches away from a Sphinx isn't having a fun time because he has to consider dodging, even though he is primed to shoot that Sphinx on 10s. I think he's with his sniper on 10s. He's got to consider dodging. And if he's dodging, then I'm shooting you on. I don't think he's got mimetism. Does the Black Air? I don't think he does.
Yeah, mim -3.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm shooting you on 11s. That's fine. 4 11s versus your 1 13 or 12 or whatever he's got. It's still very powerful, very effective, even for those units designed to counter. And if you know me, he's already got a mine next to him before I've even done that. So. But yes, to the unmasking game did go heavily my way, and it was he got very, very unlucky with dice on his turn. I think it would have been a very different game if he ran round, shot, because Jamie's a specialist as well, pressed the button, revealed another one, then moved up his units and positioned them better because he had more orders. It would have been a different game altogether. The Sphinx wouldn't have been able to run riot. So I just think, unfortunately, he got very unlucky.
Right. Okay, well, tell us about your second game. This was Frostbite. You were playing Akalon. He was using OSS, and you won 7-5. So tell us about this game.
Oh boy, this I said Agent Ducash wasn't that good, but this was the Agent Ducash show. So, by the way, Hawkwood, I've just got here as a note, is an amazing ARO piece, an incredibly difficult ARO piece. I think I won the roll. I chose to go second because Frostbite heavily favors going second, just because its piece is alive and who dominates the center. And if I'm going second, and as you know, my list likes going second, I don't mind people running at me, especially in things like Frostbite. It's very heavily favored. But I got very, very lucky at one point. So he runs his Asura right at me. And my Liberto's hiding behind this box with a mine. And I think I've played like very carefully, very cagey here. The mine's ready to blow up on the Asura. And he does some really, really sort of clever maneuvering and ends up the Asura's fighting the Liberto. But the Liberto dodges, succeeds, dodges, succeeds, shoots, does a wound to the Asura, dodges, lays down his mine, dodges again. Now that's 5-6 orders on the Asura with a Liberto jumping around like some sort of jumping jack. It was incredible. Now, eventually the Liberto did go down, but now there's a mine looking at the Asura and I've taken a wound off her. Unbelievable, unbelievable. It just stumped him. So that was essentially his first turn. I think he did press the console, however, to turn on one of his heaters. So my next step was I've got this Asura. I don't normally reveal the Sphinx until turn 2. He's got a Miranda on ARO. I need to do something about this. But Hawkwood is also looking across the board. So move the Sphinx out, shoot the Asura, Asura dodges. Shoot the Asura, crit dodge. Shoot the Asura, that failed. He shoots back. I flame the Asura makes the save. I shoot the Asura. I do a wound to the Asura and eventually take her out on like the 5th order. Yeah, it felt like 10, but it was about the 5th order. Took her out. I didn't have that many orders left. but I utilized Sphinx's old climbing plus rule. So I ran up with my second short skill to a wall, then climbed the wall. Now, the reason I did this is because Miranda already has marksmanship. She's already ignoring that modifier. And I want to ignore her cover when I shoot her. So I thought it was worth the risk. I know I wouldn't get it in the save, but I think winning the dice roll was more important. And I had Speedball and Engineers ready on hand. Engineers Group 2, if you remember my list. So I was ready to recover the Sphinx if I needed to. I happened to win the dice roll and take out Miranda as well. Retreat the Sphinx, recamo. That's entire turn 1. Still haven't pressed the button, mind you. On his turn, he does some rearranging of his groups. I think he moves some people around and repositions his AROs, and I think he presses his second heater on. So he's got 2 heaters, remember. So that's not good for me. But he can't press the third heater until my turn. So I need to get rid of Hawkwood, move on Agent Ducash, shoot his Link, and then try and shoot Hawkwood. Can't kill him. Just can't kill him. Still can't kill him, and I don't think I do kill him. So what ends up happening is my entire turn is just shooting rubbish, shooting cheap units, like flash pulses and all of that kind of stuff. Still can't take down Hawkwood. So I've done quite a bit of damage to him. Miranda's gone, the Asura's gone, the Link that's supporting Hawkwood is gone, flash pulses are gone. I've done quite a bit of damage. So army points wise, I'm definitely up, right? Because I think that's one of the scoring in Frostbite. I'm definitely up, especially if the Sphinx is still alive. Oh, he moves his special guy into the middle of Frostbite to claim the zone for his turn.
Yeah, who did you declare as your cold operator or whatever it's called?
My void operator hacker, the super jumping guy. So on his third turn, he moves up his guy into the zone. He makes sure all of his guys are positioned in warm locations. Agent Ducash is weirdly still alive. He tries to take him out. But what he does do is move his engineer bot into base to base with Agent Ducash to stop him from doing any more damage. Because, Agent Ducash is okay in CC, but he could just lose because they've got a para CC weapon. So he could just get paralyzed. And I think he ends up getting paralyzed. Yeah, he ends up getting paralyzed. But we had an interesting... Oh, no, he doesn't because... Oh, he does. So this is what happens. I activate Agent Ducash to do a classified where I'm base to base with a REM and it's whip +3. I make the classified. He punches me. I'm paralyzed. So that's what happens to Agent Ducash. And then I move the void up, turn on my heater, and then dominate the middle in its entirety. So I've killed more, dominate the middle, but he has more heaters, but I have a heater on. So essentially he gets 3 points for having more heaters than me. And then I get more army points, more heaters, and having pressed a button, which I get 1, he gets 2 for. So, it turns out being so that would make it 5. Yeah. So, he gets all those points. I don't think he completed his classified, which would have been 7-6 in that instance. But it was a really, really tough game. And Agent Ducash did shine in that game by just disrupting a load of the cheap units. Sphinx shine by taking out Miranda. The Liberto shine by taking out pretty much doing as much damage to the Asura as I could. I couldn't quite hack the Asura. He was very, very, he's a really good player because he was 8.3, 8.4 inches away from my repeater. Just couldn't hack him for the life of it. I think then once the Sphinx took out a lot of the AROs and Ducash took a lot of the Link team out, it became, and because the Asuras cost so many points, it became relatively easy for me to dominate the middle and take that game. It was a really, really tough game, and the Asura is literally the perfect counter to the Sphinx if I had revealed him turn 1. So.
Yeah, it does make sense. All right, so let's move on to game 3. This was versus Froggy. You were playing Mind Wipe. Froggy was playing Tunguska. 5-4. So this was a tight game. Tell us about it.
So this was really, really tough. He took the new flying unit, I believe.
The Go-Bug.
An incredible unit because they get a buddy that goes around with them who can flash pulse and chain cult, wow, a brilliant unit. So this was really, really tough. But a little bit of luck happened my way on this one as well. But it was still, it's still fairly reasonable. So what happened is that my Liberto was the hero again. And the Liberto sort of dominated that middle part of the board. He did the normal tactic, heckler, ran it up, threw the repeater down, went to isolate, failed on the first one, succeeded on the second one, tried to isolate the Icadron, failed on that. So he did isolate my R drone. And then he ran, what's his name? Perseus, is that? Perseus, and then Perseus ran up to clear up my other side of the board, right? And he did. I think he killed 2 of my units in group 2, the Gaki and one of my robots as well, the Imatron, I think, in group 2. So he cleared up those, and he managed to press the button in the middle as well, in order to eventually reveal which is his. And the one that happened to reveal is the one that I have the least defenses around. That sucked. So, so that's that. And this is why it becomes a really, really tight game, because he revealed the correct one, and it's on the side that Perseus is on, who is incredible at destroying these units, right? Units? No. Yes, it is a unit. It's a anyway. He's incredibly amazing at destroying
server
them.
Or something like that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now I do get a little bit unlucky. So what happens for me is I run. What do I do first? I did Ducash first. So Ducash runs up, shoots the Go Pod in the back for free. I don't hit it because it's got mimetism. But I'm still on 13s. I don't hit it. It turns around, and so does his little flash pulse bot, because somebody shot within 8 of him. And that sucks because flash pulsing stops Ducash. So then I found an angle on the engineer, shot that, failed to kill that. Found an angle on his impetuous guy, failed to kill that. So Ducash didn't do very well. I then just sort of retreated him back and hit him. And that's it with him. Unless I'm misremembering this game. Apologies. I'm trying to remember if I'm misremembering, because I fought a practice game, but it might have been again Bakunin. Trying to think if this is my IGL game. No. So there was no Go Pod, it was the tag. And I tried to shoot the tag out in the open several times and failed miserably. I'm very, very sorry about that. Sorry, Froggy, for misremembering. So I shot the tag.
So you shot the tag in the back with Agent Ducash.
Yeah, and failed miserably. He got to turn around and shot the tag again. I just hit like 6 or 7 times with AP ammunition out of cover, and it just didn't die. And so Agent Ducash ended up basing the tag and going into CC. And that was the end of the turn. And I killed a war core, and I tried to kill the engineer, and the engineer managed to dodge. Yes, sorry, that's the correct way round. Then after all of that interaction, Sphinx still not revealed, as I mind you. After all that interaction, he then goes and runs Perseus up, blows up the console, runs back, and then hides. And then I do a big risk. And because he's managed to isolate my other Icadron as well on his turn. So really big turn for him. Isolate my Icadron, blow up the console, run back, disrupt a lot of my AROs, and place a repeater in a really annoying place.
I find it fascinating. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but man, I just find it fascinating that somebody comes up with a play to isolate your Icadrons, right? Because you already said that was something you feared, but honestly, if we were matched up, I would just never even consider it, right? I mean, I'm just too used to like the investment in picturing and hacking and stuff is so high in terms of orders, right? That I would only consider it for like important units, and it's like the 9-point Icadron wouldn't cross my mind.
Well, the thing is that, am I right in saying that he can duo with the Stempler? So he's got a repeater in that area, and I think he had a spare order, and he was like, "Oh, isolate you. So I think it wasn't like his main overall tactic, but what I do think it was his attempt to reduce my order pool, and it was a smart thing to do, albeit for what happens next. So I'm now down to only like 3 orders in group 2 and 2 isolated units in group 1, and then I've lost another unit in group 1. So I'm down a bunch, and the Sphinx is not on the table. I'm down a bunch of orders. So he runs his impetuous guy around and CCs my guy burst Dukash down to death. So Dukash is dead, which is very irritating. On my first turn, I did press the button with the void operator. I deeply apologize. I definitely did do that. And then Ikajon uses his irregular order, stands up to see Perseus and the robot, and I just say, flame, right? And what my intent with the flame, because it's burst 2, what my intent with the flame was to originally take out the robot, the hacking bot, so I could eventually reset on my own accord at a later date. Perseus failed his dodge, which is huge. And so did the robot. And they both went to dead. And I was like, one irregular on a Nicodron, flaming something that dodges on 17s, I think it's something obscene, 16s, is very unlikely to happen, but it did happen. I did consider using the pistol, but I thought, no, I want to take out the repeater first, and I'll deal with Perseus with the Sphinx at a later date. But nope, took them both out, straight to dead. I was like, that's the best thing that could ever happen. I've only spent 1 isolated irregular order. So that was huge. And then the Sphinx reveals, I've got the console that's the furthest away from the Sphinx. Now, here's a really good tactic. The Sphinx has double action here, and the Sphinx can pop out his little robot. So what I do is I run the Sphinx across the board, pop out his robot to touch the console at the same time as the Sphinx, because if I touch it first, it will get stunned. But so pop out the robot, and then because they're peripheral synchronized, they both go into CC, and then I'm burst 2 against the console, take out the console, leave the Sphinx there to shoot any sort of movement that happens on the other side. So
and that's when you learn to use every part of the hog, right? We learn to eat the whole animal, and you learn to use the whole Sphinx, in which you learn to use even the DACCW to complete the mission by blowing up the server with burst 2. I just love that little detail. Yeah,
and it's really useful as well, because if anybody tries to come and CC the Sphinx, dodge your little robot in there, slow them down for another order. It's just about them wasting orders. That's the main thing, right? You just want them to slow them down as quickly as you can.
And also, just to mention that Perseus dodges on a 13. So yeah, I mean, you were lucky, but not insanely lucky.
No. So we both, at this point, we've both activated consoles. We've both destroyed rogue AI, and Froggy goes into thought mode, and he goes, right, what do I need to do? And he realizes he has to destroy another server. That will take me out of the game. But he hasn't completed his classified yet. So he goes forward. He runs his mini sort of Harris forward and tries to take out that final server and doesn't manage it. He just gets slowed down. And the important factor here is that the Sphinx is still alive. So what I've got left is a grief operator, a Sphinx, a Dalarazzi, a bunch of cheap orders. That's pretty much it. He's managed to do a devastating, but the void's gone. The engineer's gone as well. So my only conclusion is I have to destroy this other console. So I run the Dalarazzi, throw smoke down, run them up, and berserk the console. And I had 2 orders left at this point, and I managed to get rid of it. And my word, that was down to the last order grind to get that over the edge. And it was a super exciting game, and it was incredibly difficult. If I didn't take out Perseus again, I think it would have been a very different game. If I didn't take out that console, I think it would have been a very different game. I could have done it with the grief, but he would have risked it. He would have had 3 arrows, flash pulses, hacking, anything. It would have been a real tough thing. Now, he was more likely to destroy it than the Dalarazzi, but still, Oh, and I think I didn't crit either. I think I just hit twice, which basically means that he gets 4 saves instead of 5 or 6, and that's not ideal against these servers.
Yeah,
Because I
they're
think these ones
beefy.
are armor 4, so 7s or lower. But yeah, really, really, really tough game. Really, really, really good. It was very, very intense. But I think this game in particular felt like 2 very good players looking for every single out or opportunity to win. I think that was the thing. We were like, okay, what do we need to do? We're doing everything that the mission asks of us. We haven't done everything. We need to do more, and it's just about what can we do more in order to complete it. So yeah, very, very tough game.
Fascinating. I mean, I love it. I love it. Also, I'm guessing you lost the Dadarazzi, right? That's why you couldn't just spend another order on him.
Yeah. He died straight away. So,
yeah.
And that would have been a draw, I believe. Or did I get a classified as well? 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. Yeah. So I got a classified and he didn't. So yeah, it would have been really, really difficult. Really, really difficult if I didn't destroy that server. So yeah, really, really good game. Really, really tight, down to the wire game. And yeah, I probably would have. I think my whole journey would have ended there. I genuinely think that would have been it. So yeah, that was a really tough game.
Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. Next game, right? This is up to 1, 2, 3, 4. This is your 4th game. So your 4th game, was versus Tanan, who's known from the IGL Discord as well. He was using Onyx Contact Force, which I think is an interesting choice, right? Playing Firefight. So yeah, tell me about this game.
And his list is interesting as well. He takes 6 or 7 Unidron plasma carbines. And his lieutenant is a Spitfire Legate, or is it the?
That's right. He plays top 10, so his list is public with the IGL, and it was just wild, right? It's the kind of list that you look at and you say, "What are you doing?" It's got literally 7 Unidron plasma carbines.
And he's playing a Sphinx as well. And I think when we spoke after the game, we were going to play our other list, right? We were going to play it. But we both feared Norkius, so we both ended up playing our Sphinx lists, which is hilarious because we were like trying to out-meta each other. So I didn't play the other one because I thought, oh no, he's going to bring his version. Because the thing that Combined Army is weak to is their own hackers, right? If I brought my other list, I would have done quite well against that list because, isolating those Unidrons and getting them off, from doing any sort of work, killing his Bit and Kiss, doing all of that kind of stuff would have been, and isolating the Sphinx or doing any of that would have been very good. But we both kind of countered each other. So we both brought the Sphinx list. Now, this was very difficult, but it was difficult because everything died on my turn. So I had first turn, and I ran forward, tried to press a button, failed, pressed the button again, failed, pressed the button with a Gaki, failed, pressed the button again with a Gaki and got I failed again with a Gaki. Then I pressed the button again with the Dadarazzi and he got a HMG, which is lovely. But that's it. I pressed one button after about 4 orders. Remember, he's very based in and his Sphinx is not on the board. The same reason why his list is hard to crack. It's the same reason that my list is hard to crack. Do I want to go and shoot 7 Unidrons? Probably not, right? Especially when they're in a core with, +1 SD, +1 ballistic skill, good dodges, and they discover on +6, right? So if I ran my Sphinx up, the Unidron who's got an additional dogged remote presence is discovering my Sphinx on flats. I don't want that. No, I want someone to discover me on 7s or 4s.
Yeah.
So I didn't do anything with the Sphinx turn 1, and Tanan also agreed that was probably the best move I could have done. So what I did do is bring on Agent Ducash after he revealed his Noctifer. But I was very unlucky. Agent Ducash went up. I didn't have that many orders left. I killed a couple of units and then based the Ducash with the Noctifer, and the Noctifer crits me and I die. And that's bad because one, that's a specialist, and two, that's 40 points.
So wait a minute. He killed your Dugash in close combat.
Yeah, in one whole, like he's got two wounds, so he has to crit, and I'd have to fail both saves at PS10. So I had to roll above a 12 twice after he crit. So yeah, it was pretty rough. And that meant the Noctifer is still standing up and free. Oh dear, not good. My second turn comes around. The Void Operator, it doesn't sound super exciting in this game, but it's very cagey because we're both playing Sphinxes. So my Void Operator moves up and grabs a glue gun. And then his Sphinx moves up, and now he goes after the Void Operator because that's another specialist, right? And he tries to shoot it, fails. I reveal my Sphinx to shoot his Sphinx out of cover. I do hit, but he makes the save, and he thinks, okay, this isn't worth it. He's getting 3 AOs, right? One of them will glue him in place if he fails against that one. And the Sphinx doing a wound is no joke. So I was like, okay. He's like, that's not good. He retreats his Sphinx back and goes back into camo state. So that's his turn too. So both of us have got most of our army left, right? I've probably killed about 30 points of his side. He's killed almost 60. No, 40 plus. So he's killed about 47 at this point. So we're both like really high up on points here. We're doing great. My turn 3, this is where the big risk comes in. I run forward and I have to cross this gap between the building where I can hide from the Noctifer and the Noctifer. I don't have enough orders to play around shooting the Noctifer, dodging. It's down to the last order. So I run. I don't have enough orders to recamo either. So I run the Sphinx across 12 inches across that gap to avoid the Noctifer. The Noctifer gets one free shot on me in 9s. What a huge risk. If it hit me, it would have been a different game. But it missed, fortunately, and I'm no longer in line of sight of the Noctifer. And that's when the game completely changed, because his Sphinx is standing next to his Unidron. What this means is that I can flame the Sphinx, his Sphinx, apologies. So I move up, close to the Unidron, move back, and realize I make a big mistake here, huge mistake. Unidrons, plus 1 inch dodge. Oh dear. This could go badly. So I'm 2.8 inches away, and he can definitely dodge into CC. I flame the Sphinx. The Sphinx takes a hit, tries to dodge, fails. The Unidron that could CC me fails his dodge. That is huge, because if he based me, I would have wasted so many orders CCing, and I didn't have that many orders. So what I ended up doing is just going back, flaming, making sure I'm 3.1, 3.2 away, flaming, shooting, took the Sphinx out, took 2 Unidrons out. The Kurgat engineer got hit, but he didn't die. I hit his lieutenant, he didn't die, and I hit 2 of his Ichadrons, they both died. So I've now taken out a Sphinx, 2 Unidrons, 2 Ichadrons, and I've done a significant amount of damage to him. But that took all of my orders, so I could only move back 6 inches, enough for him to essentially take a big risk. But I'd calculated the points in my head. I had about 132 remaining, excluding the Sphinx at this point. He had 127, but then I took out he had 127 remaining after his Sphinx is dead. So he would need to take the Sphinx and 1 other unit. And all of my units are so far back that I just don't think he's going to do it. So at this point, I was fairly confident. But he does the right thing. He takes a big risk. He runs his lieutenant up and tanks a flame from the Sphinx to CC me to death. And he does it. My goodness. I was like, wow, amazing.
What a play. What a play.
Yeah, amazing. No dodging, none of that. I think we did discuss our post-game that there was a possibility of him being able to do so. So if he'd done a different sort of approach, a different angle of approach, he could have avoided that flame and managed to get into base to base with me. But it didn't matter at the end of the day because, 1, that's his lieutenant. If he died, that it would have been game over. So he took one wound, didn't take the second, and he was alive. So none of our lieutenants died. I had 132. He had 126. At the moment, he thought he won, right? He genuinely, because he counted 14 points greater. But I was like, he's dogged. I'm sorry, he dies at the end of the turn. And, that's how tight that game was, right? That is incredible game. And that's the thing with these lists. Like, I wouldn't have taken that list, but having a bunch of cheap nothingness and most of your stuff being hidden, well, it's a very difficult thing to attack into, right? When I looked at it, I was like, what on earth am I going to do? How am I going to do it? So I just went to the panoplies and took as much out and had like aggressive CC monsters in the middle of the field. So, that's the only way I could sort of think about trying to take this on. And then on turn 2, move the CC monsters up and start doing damage. But yeah, it's a very difficult list to eat into just because, Unitrons have effective 3 wounds and, they've got a very good gun. So if they win that face-to-face, it's going to hurt whoever goes in there,
Yeah, Plasma's very scary.
Very, very scary. So, yeah, it was a really, really tough game. And it was a very good opponent. I know he likes to... he has, really interesting reviews on Discord, and they can sometimes go against the meta, but an amazingly friendly guy and really, really a pleasure to play against, an absolute pleasure.
Wow. Okay. Super, super interesting. Super interesting. Let's go on to the next game. You were playing countermeasures versus Sneaky Snake, playing military orders. I actually recorded an episode on military orders with Sneaky. I'm not sure on what order we're going to publish them. I'm not sure if it's going to be before or after this one. So we're going to be able to see both sides of this game, which I think is going to be fun.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah. So talk to me about the game.
Well, this is the thing, right? So we're both very good players, right? And Sneaky is, ruthless. And I don't mean that in like personality. I mean in his play style, right? He made sure that I couldn't do very much at all. And he made sure that I only got 1 classified on my turn. That's it. So, sorry, it's countermeasures. I got 1 classified. And I thought, oh no, this isn't good. Because knowing Sneaky, he will get 2, 3, 6, and then the game runs away from me. So I got 1 classified. And I barely set up the board and I barely killed anything. So we're looking at not a very good first turn. Maybe throwing in the towel. No, I'm not like that. But it was really, really, really tough. He went and completed 2 classifieds. I think he only just got unlucky on the 3rd. And again, very light on the killing side of things. Nobody really died or did any sort of damage. Then it came to my turn. And I got 2 easy classifieds and 1 horrendous one. So I completed the 2 classifieds again, barely killing a thing. None of us really did any damage. So it's basically like we're just going to try and do the best we can, which is the correct thing to do for countermeasure. There's no points for killing army points. But what you should do is try and take out the specialists. And I worked this out on my turn. I worked out that, okay, he's got 3 classifieds at this point. I've got 3, but he's got he's got 2 classifieds. I've got 3, but he's got a turn advantage. And I'm pretty much guaranteed that he's going to get 2. And so he did. So on my turn 3, it was the Sphinx. I ran the Sphinx up. I ran the Dadarazzi up, got rid of that creature, the mission-centric creature, got rid of him with the Dadarazzi. And then the Dadarazzi tried to do some like clever stuff with the sniper, the MIM6 sniper. And he wasn't doing super well. I was like chain rifling things that should have died. I was, shooting things that should have died. But then the luck switches my way. I should have died because I then decided to do a berserk against his flash pulse bot, which meant that the sniper could shoot me for free, and so could his Knight Santiago. The sniper missed because it's bad range and mimetism, and the Knight Santiago hit, and I made the save. Okay, I didn't expect to still live. So I thought, you know what? I'll try the Knight Santiago. I turn around and berserk the Knight Santiago. The Knight Santiago kicks my Dada Artsie's butt. It was embarrassing. I was like, what is this guy doing? So it was like, okay, fine, 2 on 24s versus 1 on 18. It can happen. Like you just roll 17 and I rolled like a 12 and an 11. And then I went straight to dead. So I was like, okay, Dukash. This is Dukash's time to shine. Dukash goes on, shoots, fails to kill his knight. Shoots, fails to kill his knight. He bases me. I try to CC. Neither of us failed to do anything. We don't do anything. So I was like, Dukash is out of the game. Sphinx, come on. Sphinx shoots the Warcore. I hit the Warcore. No, sorry, the Warcore hits me, beats me. So he's on like a 7 or something low. And I fail all of my shots, except for one. I think a 1 and a 2 get through. But the 6 beat me. I make the save, thank goodness. Kill the Warcore, go after his engineer, go after his knights, and I have 2 orders left. And his Knight Santiago Lieutenant's still alive. There's no guarantee in 2 orders I can put it down. And he's currently, and it's so funny what Sneaky's going to say, he's dodging his knight to just try and get into CC. He just keeps dodging. He's like 2 inches closer, 2 inches closer, 2 inches closer. And I'm just focused on the lieutenant. Kill the lieutenant, kill the lieutenant. Finally, the lieutenant goes down. And now he's in loss. And that changed the whole game. I think. And then I completed all of my classifieds in my final turn. So I had got 3, 2, and 1, basically. And now he needs 3 for the win, 2 for a draw, and 1 would mean he loses. So literally the inverse of the direction. I got 1, then 2, then 3. He got like 2, 3, and then he needs just 1, right? Sorry, needs 2 for the win and 1 for the draw. So it's his go. He's in loss. There is one way to do it, but he doesn't have any command tokens left. And that's when he comes to the realization. He goes, if he had like 2 command tokens left, or if he wasn't in loss, he just needs to get into zone of control of a HVT, do a whip check, and he gets it. Now, there were AROs looking at him, but, oh man, I felt for him. Those 3 that came up, I remember it as the assassination one. He's in loss of lieutenant. He can't do it. It was a specialist, veteran or elite, inside zone of control, doing a whip check. He can do that one. And the other one was like a paramedic doing a medikit shot against one of my units. And he doesn't have any of those left. So it was just like, oh my goodness, he can't do any of that at all unless he like had 2 command tokens to convert the orders and run up that guy. But yeah, it was really rough. I think the only part that I missed is he did try an attack run against my Liberto, and my Liberto, again, hero, laid down a mine, did a wound to that. I think that's probably what he'll be most angry about. It did a wound to the Crux Knight. And the Liberto eventually took out the Crux Knight by himself. Yeah. So he came round, ready to shoot. He misjudged the repeater range. I was able to hack him, but he was able to reset. But the Liberto already placed the mine down. So Liberto hasn't had any shots left. I dodged the Liberto around to get him out of cover. He shoots. I'm on 17s. He's on really good numbers as well. I think he uses his pistol or something. He's on 17s as well. I beat him. He takes a wound, and then he's out of orders. And then my Liberto just shoots him dead. This is why you're saying, why do I take this guy? Because he's still very good. For 8 points, he takes out Crux Knights, so he's in an excellent unit. But yeah, it was just a really fun game because we were both playing focused on the mission. We both really just wanted to do as much as we possibly could mission-wise. And as soon as I scored 1, I'm pretty sure Sneaky was like, this is my chance, right? If same would be for me. If I saw him score 1, I would be like, yeah, this is my chance. But, the classifieds fell the way that the classifieds fell, right? His last 3 were just so rough that even with his irregular orders, like if he got any of the other ones, like net undermined or standing on a dead corpse because Agent Dukash was unconscious at this point, or CC, like base to base with a tag rem with Knight Santiago and do a whip check, he would have done that and tanked the flames or whatever. Do you know what I mean? If it was any of those, he would have won. He would have won. But unfortunately, the classifieds that came up were nothing.
Wow. What a nail biter of a game, right?
Oh, unbelievable game. It was really, really good. And the only thing I was upset about is the Delarazzi losing that face to face. It should be heavily favored. Like 90% of the time I win, but still, I mean, what those Knight Santiago's have done wonders for Sneaky Snake over this entire campaign. Like, and this was game. This is the game, right? I just want to stress this. We're both quite stressed at this point because we know if we win, we're in the finals, right? We both have scored very, very high up to this point, right? And we both know if we win, that's the finals. We get a chance. We get that chance. And I think that's one of the reasons that both of us played a little bit cagey turn one, turn two, when actually, if this was the first game, we probably would have been a lot more aggressive. A lot more aggressive.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. It does change, right? It does change. It does have an effect on your playstyle, on everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Psychologically, you've got to try and stay calm. Like, think of a game as any other game. I know we play a war game where we put our miniatures on the table and we roll a lot of dice, but a lot of people talk about sports and mentality, but mentalities is still important for us, you know. And you know, I hope you don't criticize me for putting this on your podcast, but I do think mental health is very, very important, even in wargaming, and sometimes this is our escapism. And don't let the pressures like get to you. Try and stay calm, stay confident, take each turn, each order by how it goes, and have fun. That's the most important thing. And like when I spoke about Tanan's game, Sneaky's game, all of these games, I'm having a blast, an absolute blast across all of them, even when I'm losing. And when we talk about the final, you'll see that I was losing countermeasures game. I was losing at the time firefight game, and I was losing. Was it the frostbite? Yeah, frostbite. When you press two consoles, I was losing that game as well. So I was starting off losing, but it's just about how can you recover from that loss. That's what's the most important.
Yeah, that it is important. It is important to keep. Well, of course, I think the first thing you said is the most important at all, right? It is important to always remember this is a game and we're having fun, right? I mean, you have to really keep that in mind, for sure. But being able to keep your cool and you know, there are so many cases where a game seems lost in Infinity, right? And it is very recoverable, right? I've seen games that seem completely lost just manage to be recovered, and I think that's what makes Infinity so interesting, right? These games that can come down to those final orders, that final turns.
Absolutely, no, you've hit the nail on the head. It's the nail bitingness of it. Like I do enjoy things like chess and things like this as well, but it's not. I wouldn't say as nail biting, or I'm just worse at chess than I am at Infinity. It doesn't really matter which way round it is, but you know, I love these moments where someone's put me in a bad position and I have to think my way out of it and go, okay, what are my outs? What are my best opportunity here? Like, can I use the 14-point Delarazzi to take on two Knight Santiago's, you know, two flash pulse bots and a sniper? Probably, you know, ideally you wouldn't do that, but it was the best opportunity because of the combination of weapons that Delarazzi has. It forces a lot of people to dodge that would normally shoot. So, you know, you've just got to play to your outs. That's a 14-point model taking on about 100 points sat in that corner, you know. So, you know, just try and play to your outs and enjoy it. You know, I enjoy berserking a robot when I probably should, in hindsight, have ignored the robot and berserked the knight in the first place. I shouldn't have even berserked the bot. But I like big numbers versus small numbers. I think I mentioned that previously. So, you know, I see red. Have you ever encountered that when you've played games? Have you ever seen red?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. That is, I think that's a very common Infinity thing, right? To just go down to kill, and just miss that play. Where if you had just saved a couple of orders to boop that button or something, and you just spent too many killing, that's 100% right.
Yeah, no, I don't bring a Sphinx to boot buttons. I bring a Sphinx to shoot stuff. Like, but you know, you've got to play the mission. That's the most important thing. I have actually deliberately lost a tournament in order to win it. That lost a game to win a tournament before, which sounds ridiculous. But there's a set of circumstances where you can score 5 points and be within one to get to tournament points. So that's a bit gamey, and some people would criticize me, and I talked about that on the last podcast. But for me, it enabled me to, really think about what my outs were, and just keep playing to those, and you guys will definitely win a majority of your games. And I just had so much fun over the countermeasures and, Tanan's game and all of these different games. It's just been really, really fun until I got to the finals.
Right. So, okay, the finals here. You played versus Shankar and Panic Room, and he was also playing Vanilla Combined.
Yeah, and he took what some people would maybe consider the meta list, which is the Overdrawn Norkius Sheskin list. And the reason it's the meta list is I think Robert Shepard also ran a similar list and displayed its prowess and its ability to just run Norkius up, use the Overdrawn defensively against hacking, and then run Norkius up and eat everything, and just show how devastating he can be when done correctly. And the Overdrawn, he also took the Plasma Sniper. We talked previously about why I took it. He also took that, even though I know from his point calculations he could have snuck in the HRMC. It just feels like, especially for this Panic Room map, which was very open, it just feels like a better way to access the range bands and maybe even clip units that are trying to hide, especially in Panic Room where everyone's really crowded together. There might be a spot where you can just go, hey, I'll snipe that out. So about this final, what list, if you don't mind me asking you, what list would have you taken? Would you have taken the Sphinx, or would you have taken the Charontid list? If you knew you were playing CA.
If you knew you were playing CA, that is interesting. I mean, you mentioned before that you think one of the weaker points of the list is the powerful hacking that CA brings. So bring the hacking dominance list, right? Bust out that Charontid.
Yeah, and to go off the point you made earlier, a lot of my Sphinx list isn't in the deployment zone. Well, Panic Room, you have to pay for it. So my Grief Op, my Ducash, my Liberto, all of that, I have to roll Fizz -3 to get out. Now, hypothetically speaking, if Ducash lands, then he could be devastating, especially in this kind of Panic Room closed environment game. Or if the Grief Op lands, he's very good at killing the Mentor, which was Shrankar's lieutenant in this instance. So if they did land, it's very hopeful thinking, but that's not necessarily, I don't want to rely my entire game plan on rolling a 9, right? That just doesn't seem reliable. And then having a Grief Op who's a great unit, but you're paying 20 points for a combi rifle in your DZ, that's not ideal. Ducash in your DZ isn't so bad, but that's only because he's got viral, and if he runs Norkius up, I can sort of deal with him. But it just didn't feel right to take something which could just fail. I could either win and dominate turn 1 or fail turn 1, and I just didn't like that idea. So I decided to take the alternative list, and I brought the Plasma Sniper because I wanted to stop Norkius, but I didn't have the best of luck. So turn 1, Tactical Awareness Order on his Overdrawn, kills my Overdrawn straight to dead. That's unlucky.
Oh boy, that is rough. Yeah.
Yeah, so he didn't even spend a regular order. And I took out his Mentor's Decoy, and that's about as much as I did with my Overdrawn straight to dead. So now my Norkius doesn't have the protection. He runs, and this is risky, but he runs his Dartok up, tries to fire. Remember, he's only got 2 pitchers, so fires his pitcher first on an 11, fails, fires his second one, lands on a 4, and then Norkius straight to dead from his Trinity. I'm on 15s, he's on 16s, but I just bluff completely, and he hits all of the time. And you've got to remember he's also +1 damage to the Dartok, so Norkius dead. Not even a chance to guts out of the repeater range, which I could have done.
Oh boy, that's brutal. That is so brutal. What a way to start the game. Jesus.
That's turn 1, order 3, and I've lost 110 points of my army. So that's not good start, and I felt a bit defeatist at that point, but I still have second turn. I had to deploy first, and I went second by my own choice, because Panic Room is such a powerful go second mission that I'm able to navigate all of these different avenues. So I have to use my cheat points. So I mentioned this earlier. He moved in a Predator. I moved my Gaki up. He isn't sure. And I don't know the ruling on this, and I think we played it correctly. We double checked the rules several times. I declare Berserk, but I don't measure yet. The measurement is done at the conclusion of the order. He has to declare his ARO. So I declare my long skill, which is Berserk. Then he declares his ARO. Now, he doesn't know at this point if I'm within 12. So he doesn't know whether he should declare CC or dodge. Because if he dodges, he can get out of line of sight of my Gaki. So my Berserk, I can't Berserk him again, right? So he's unsure. He chooses to dodge. And we were measured, and I'm 11.3. Now, again, the reason I was able to assess that it was close to 12, 11.3 is a bit too close. I think I was slightly off here, but diagonal's a bit confusing. I have a rough idea how far things are away based on the way things are deployed and how big the room is and how far away my Gaki is from the edge of the room, because you can measure your zone of control. So Gaki moves, zone of control measurement. I know I'm about 4 inches from the edge of the room. He's about 3/4 of the way into the room. That's about 6, 7. So that's where it gets a bit iffy. Happened to be, he was about 7.7 inches away, but still, it just is what it is. I berserk him. The overdrawn shoots my Gaki. I make the armor save and fail the BTS save, and I win the face-to-face against his dodge. I explode, take the Predator out to 0, and then I just move in some cheap unit, I think. I moved my second Gaki into the room via a cautious move, which we had to double check that Impetuous could do it, but it can. So I scored the room that time. So now he's like, oh, this can't be good. I move Bid and Kiss up to ARO a little bit with the glue gun, and he runs Sheskin up to go and eat the Gaki in the room. Sheskin runs round, tries to eat the Gaki. The Gaki, finally, the numbers come my way. I crit, dodge. The Gaki's getting out of there alive. So he then moves up, kills Kiss, right? Because Bit's the hacker. Kills Kiss. Gaki's still alive. And then he goes up to Bit. And now I had to make a very crucial decision. He only has 3 orders left, right? I have to decide whether or not he discovers me or I shoot him back. And I did the maths. He's under 8. He's going to be shooting me on 12s. And I'm shooting him back on an 11. I'm unlikely to win that face-to-face. I'll be realistic. 111 versus 4 12s with Sheskin is just not likely to happen. And he only has 3 orders. He can't spend a lot of time doing this. So I let him try to discover me. And he fails. He's on 1 dice on a 13 and he fails. That was my thinking pattern. Like, would I rather have 1 roll on a 13, no face-to-face, or 4 rolls on a 12 versus 1 on an 11? And I thought the 1 on the 13 would be the more better one. So Kiss is alive. Huge for me. He then retreats Sheskin back into the room and puts Sheskin on suppressive fire. Now, Sheskin in a room on suppressive fire is a scary business. Doesn't matter who you are, what player you are, that's not good. But Sheskin hasn't powered up yet, and that's also quite important of why I made the decision I made. So I was like, okay, the only choice I've got is to kill Sheskin. Now, I made an incorrect rule error, and this is my own fault, and I'm happy to admit that I made this mistake. I thought for some reason you couldn't shoot suppressive through a low vis zone. I thought you had to drop suppression in order to shoot into a low vis zone. Someone told me that was apparently an N2 rule, where if there's any like visual modifiers made or something whilst in suppressive fire, you can't like declare a shot or something along those lines. Anyway, I got my rules mixed up. But I declared the long skill, and the long skill was whilst inside smoke, the Dadarazzi threw down, I decided to intuitive attack the Sheskin with my Sepsidor. Well, this went from what I thought was a calculated risk, which would be 1/16 versus 1/9, to a very bad dice rolling odds for 1/16 versus 3 9s. So As you can tell, I really needed this to go off. The better solution would be to move out of smoke and have Cheskin take that fork and kill Cheskin. But obviously, the only reason I made this judgment call was based on the fact that I thought it would be 1 dice versus 1 rather than 3 versus 1.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I rolled a 7, he rolled a 4 and a 5, and the Sepsidor goes off and beats, and because it's face to face, it beats his numbers. I don't have to take any saves. And it's PS3. Now, Nanoscreen now works against templates, so he still gets 6 BTS onto this. So he needs 9 or lower. Otherwise, he's mine. And he rolls an 11. Now I own Cheskin. Amazing. This is a game changer. An absolute game changer.
So what a swing, right?
So now I'm like, well, I've got Cheskin and she's better than anything else that still lives in my army. So, because in order for my lieutenant to do that, because I've got the 2 orders, it's lieutenant order, and then regular to do the Sepsidor. So I've only spent 1 order in that group so far. So this is really good. That means I've got a full contingent. I think I had 7 orders left on Cheskin. Great. Cheskin runs out, shoots the Dadarazzi, shoots the Flash Pulse bot, kills the Flash Pulse bot. Dadarazzi survives. Face to face against the Overdron, but the Overdron takes a hit, but he's also armor 9, so I'm just not going to do anything to him. Move again, shoot the Overdron, shoot the Dadarazzi, but I need to kill the Dadarazzi to dead, so I did a 3 versus 1 split and killed the Dadarazzi. Amazing. And the Overdron missed me just completely, and I missed him just completely. So I rolled like a 17, and he rolled like a 19 or something. But now we're getting into dangerous territory because he's got a boarding pistol, which is template, and he has a Preta, which is also template. So I still have to be careful. What he decides to do is I move forward, and he chain rifles me with the Preta, and he decides to face me with a boarding pistol. Now, his rationale is that he's on 13s versus my -3, so 12s, and he's armor 9, right? He does not care about my gun in the slightest. I think he should have templated me, but he was more worried I'd dodge into base to base and CC him. So he's kind of forcing me to shoot, right? Rather than do anything else, because I need to get rid of that Preta with my shock ammunition so I can go face the Overdron. So I shoot the Preta dies. I shoot the Overdron's fine. And then in that position, I notice a little glint off in the distance, this beautiful purple glint of a mentor lieutenant. Oh dear, this could change everything. I can see from my finish point the mentor lieutenant prone off in the distance, which means if I succeed on this discover, I would have revealed his mentor lieutenant, and that would reduce his order pull down drastically. So discover shoot against the mentor lieutenant. I hit the mentor once and he makes the save. He can't guts anywhere because 1 inch doesn't get him away out of line of sight, and 2 inches means he has to stand and it doesn't get me out of line of sight. So there's nothing he can do. I get to shoot him again. I hop over a wall, base the Overdron. I've only got 1 order left, and shoot not everything into the mentor, which probably in hindsight wasn't a good idea. But my logic was I needed to kill the Imatron, who is a veteran player. A veteran unit, to reduce the amount of regular orders he has moving Norkius into the room. And then so I shoot the mentor, kill him, he's dead. Then I coordinate order with my lieutenant, Icodrons, and move everything out of the biotech zone and move my lieutenant into the room. So now my lieutenant's in the room. He's a loss of lieutenant. He only has Norkius, Dartok, and a base operator engineer left. Not because they're all gone. Everything's gone. And the Overdron, but the Overdron's in group 2, and he doesn't want to activate the Overdron because I'll punch him. So his tactic is to move Norkius. So I score headquarters points and the dominating the room points. And as it stands right now, I'm losing on army points because Sheskin counts as null. She doesn't actually count as points towards my army.
Yeah, that's right.
So the cost of his Overdrawn plus Norkius is greater than mine, and all I had back in my DZ was like an Icadron, a base op, and some other a Liberto and a random Delarazzi, I think. No, 2 Delarazzi's. So I had a lot of orders left, but just not very much cost. So he runs forward, shoots, and this is a big mistake from him. So he runs forward with Norkius and shoots my lieutenant and does a wound to it with a K1 combi. Now, why is this a bad idea? Well, by shooting my lieutenant, it's allowed me to guts out of line of fire, meaning that he cannot go into CC with me. If he did jump, right, he would have been able to get into CC with me in the following order because he was in marker state. So he could have jumped, and then jumped again, and he would be in CC with me. But he chose to jump, shoot, jump, and then shoot again. He does actually end up killing my lieutenant. But beautiful, beautiful Mononica kicks in, and Kiss becomes my brand new lieutenant. So, I'm not in loss. I'm fine. So all that happens is I get very unlucky here, but Delarazzi Impetuous fires a heavy pistol at him. He takes a hit, but doesn't take a wound. My other Delarazzi moves impetuously, fires at him. He takes a hit, but doesn't take a wound. My Delarazzi moves up again. He chooses the dodges. I fire. I hit him twice. He doesn't take a wound. I move the other Delarazzi up. I fire with a pistol. I fail to hit. He succeeds on the dodge. I was like, well, I'm not getting anywhere with this. That's my group 2 done, by the way. That's it. And I'm not berserking him. That's the problem. They would have been great in any other faction, not berserking him. So Sheskin, D charges on the first order, CC on the second order, because I think you lose, on Martial Arts 4, I think you lose your charges. So if I've got 3 charges, I can only decharge once. So decharge and then CC. And then I move out, and this was the biggest risk of them all. Otherwise, I'd have to switch over to other units. Sheskin is taking on a Dartok and an Icadron and a base operator in a shootout. Now, I'm heavily favored, but the weapons that they're using can just ruin me. An EM grenade is coming my way, a flash pulse is coming my way, and a shotgun shot is coming my way. Not good. So what I do is I try and contest them, but I do get hit by the flash pulse. And that could end me because it's PS7, only BTS 6 with the nano screen, so I just needed to roll 13 or under. But if I rolled a 14, which is very easy for me to do, that would have been end of Sheskin's run.
Right.
But I did kill the Dartok, and I did kill the base operating engineer. I dropped down my speedball, which you probably haven't heard me say in all of these games, and I did successfully land them. And I picked up Switch On, which does stop stun. So move, because I wasn't scared about face-to-facing Norkius out of cover. So moved, didn't worry about thought I could see Norkius, but couldn't. Shot the flash pulse, killed it. So he's only got 1 unit remaining. I moved out, shot Norkius, and this is why it's so crazy. Shot Norkius. I've only got 2 orders left. He makes it. He makes 2 saves. Okay, out of cover, PS5. What, armor 2? It's fine, it happens. Last order, I shoot Norkius and he's dead. Huge. Because if that was my very last order. Now remember, I've got 2 lieutenant orders on bit. Bosh, bosh, move, 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 move. She's in the room, and that's the game. My goodness, what an insane game. What an intense game that was. It was back and forth, back and forth. I'd lost Norkius in the Overdron turn 1. I took over his Sheskin turn 2, tied up his Overdron in CC, discovered his lieutenant and killed it. His final turn, Norkius survives about 18 pistol shots and 5 Red Fury shots, but finally goes down to my very, very last order. The only otherwise, I would have ended up drawing, I think, because Bit is a headquarters troop. Norkius is headquarters troop, but he would have dominated the room. So it would have been bad news bears for me. So I really needed Norkius to die. And I don't think Kiss would have done it because she could have shot and got into the room, but she's what, an SMG, 3 shots on, I don't know, on 11s or 14s. It's not good compared to everything else that shot at him. So yeah, it was a really, really intense game and thoroughly enjoyed it. And I couldn't believe I won at the very end because of where I left off at the start of turn 1.
Wow, that is intense. That is an intense game, man. Congratulations. You kept your cool and you kept fighting. I think it would have been very easy to check out of the game mentally, at least, after those couple of orders in first turn, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I forgot to even mention that he did 2 pitches, like failed the first one, passed the second one. Bit and Kiss, who are burst 2, fired all of their pitches and missed all of them to kill the Dartok. So I had very poor dice. I think it's online on YouTube, and I think even the commentary was like, "Yeah, Brooke's dice are not going so well." So I couldn't even roll a single 11 or lower on 4 dice, and Norkius wouldn't die to about. I think it's 15 shots. I think I shot at Norkius 2, 2, 4, 6, 8 plus 4 plus 4. So 8 plus 8, 16 shots I shot at Norkius, and he died on the last order. So yeah, crazy.
Well, this has been, a very, very exciting tour through your IGL games. Brooke, thank you so much for taking us through your games, taking us through your lists. I don't know, is there anything you'd like to say? Is there anything you think we missed out on?
No, I think I'm just very, very thankful to all of my opponents, as I've always said that, and I can't believe it as much as anybody else can. That I won. I've been trying to do this for a very, very long time. I think I started in 2021 or 2, introduced by a couple of my friends at the local meta, and I've been pretty happy with Infinity ever since. Obviously, although I will not attribute any of my skill to myself, I have to shout out Lobo, who's a big, a good friend of mine. I do consider him a friend, even though I haven't met in person. He has helped me through many different things, and one of the big things I did struggle with was going from 3rd to 1st, and that's always been a real tough challenge for me. And he helped me get over that edge, so I'm really appreciative for that. And then Richard and Jake, who are the ones who introduced me to the game, they've been a huge influence on me, and they keep asking me every day how things are going, and I'm always super excited about that. But I am looking forward to heading to the WTC in Germany on Saturday. And I'm looking forward to potentially going to Interplanetaria this year as well. So I might see a lot of you guys there.
Well, that sounds absolutely wonderful. What you have your team ready, I assume, right, for the WTC, because that's a team tournament, right?
Yeah, we've got our team ready. We've got our lists built. There's no guessing of what I might bring to the tournament, but you get advance notice if you attend these podcasts. So highly recommend it. But yeah, no, we've got to be careful about our matchups, because there's a sort of mini team element. Like, I'm facing Oban. Do you think it's actually a good idea? I don't actually. So maybe we'll choose something different.
Wonderful. Yeah, that seems super fun. I'm glad that the Infinity WTC got off the ground and is happening, right? It seems it's had a huge turnout, and I'm really happy for them, right? The organizers worked really hard on that.
Yeah, so, really hard, and they got a good amount of sponsors as well. It's apparently a nice venue. It's not too bad to get there by train, about an hour. And I've heard people in America travel many hours to get to tournaments. So what excuse do I have flying 3 hours to get door to door almost? So it's pretty exciting.
Okay. Any final comments or shout outs?
Yeah, no, I think thanks to the people who run the IGL, it's not easy. You get stupid people like me asking questions where often the response is read the rules, and it's very much appreciated because sometimes you forget that there's a small little box underneath the rules that perfectly explains the situation you literally just raised to the organizers of the tournament, and they have to answer those questions during that tournament period. I think I even asked a question and they were like, you asked this 3 days ago, and they provided a screenshot, and I was like, oh yeah, you're right. And then there's the answer, and I was like, okay, fair enough, you're absolutely right. I think I was just nervous mid-game, and I wanted to push the nerves onto someone like Iskander and say, come on, tell me how to win. And that's not what he's there for. He's there to make sure we have fun, and it's very much appreciated. So thanks to all the people that organized it, and all the issues that got raised, and good map design this year. I will actually say, good work. Like some years, you can have like 1 or 2 bad maps. I do think Panic Room was open, but map design, generally speaking, was excellent. Excellent. It was, it wasn't too high scaly, and it wasn't too sniper tower based. There were some cute angles you could find, but that took skill to find those angles rather than bad map design. Does that make sense? Rather than, oh, they deliberately left it there so it give you a long range angle. No, it's you knowing that this point is a perfect ARO point.
Of course. Well, Brooke, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a huge pleasure talking to you once again.
Thank you so much for having me, and keep up the good work. It's always really entertaining listening, and I've always very much enjoyed your thoughts. I love the fact that you put in your own thoughts as well, and I think it really keeps everything fresh and interesting.
Well, thank you for those kind words. And bye-bye, everyone. This was Whip 12, and we're signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.